Imagine you're working in a group project. It could be at work, it could be at school, it could be on a committee, a volunteer board, a team meeting, or even planning something with family or friends. At first, everything feels fine. People are contributing, ideas are flowing, there's energy, there's momentum, and it feels collaborative. And then one person starts to take over. They're not trying to be rude, they're not intentionally dominating the room, they probably have good ideas. They might even be trying to be helpful. They just start explaining in detail exactly how everything should be done. So what happens next? Someone who is talking a lot stops. Someone else leans back in their chair. Someone starts nodding politely but disengages. Maybe someone checks their phone. The energy shifts and everyone in the room can feel it. This isn't working anymore. And here's the part that most people miss. It's not because the idea is bad, it's not because people don't understand, and it's not even because anyone in the room lacks intelligence or motivation. It's because something psychological just happened. And this exact moment shows up everywhere. In leadership, healthcare, business, relationships, home, work, you name it. If you've ever walked away from a conversation thinking, I have no idea what just happened, I thought I explained that clearly, you're not alone. And if you've ever been that person thinking, I don't feel like I'm being heard, this applies to you too. Today, we're going to talk about why people push back and what's really going on underneath. Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Barlock. I work with business owners, leaders, and professionals on communication and leadership, and I also teach a college-level public relations course called Persuasive Communication and Presentations. When I started teaching this course, I assumed I'd find tons of content that explained communication and persuasion in a way that felt practical. But what I found instead was a lot of theory and very little translation. A lot of here's the model, but not a lot of here's how this actually shows up in real conversations. So this YouTube series started as a way to support my students, but very quickly I realized that these are the same struggles my clients talk about all the time. Things like, why does my team resist change? Why does explaining more make things worse? Why does something land perfectly one day and completely flat the next? Here's something I wish I understood sooner. Most communication breakdowns are not about poor intention. They're about misunderstanding how people process information. And once you understand that, everything starts to make more sense. If you take just one concept from this video, let it be this. People don't just listen to messages and evaluate them logically. They hear messages through what they already believe, how they're feeling that day, what they're protecting, and how much mental and emotional capacity they have in that given moment. So that means no message is ever neutral. Even the most logical explanation in the world is filtered through emotion, identity, experience, and context. That's why the same message can land beautifully with one person and completely miss with another. It's also why timing matters so much. Something that feels reasonable on a calm Tuesday morning can feel overwhelming on a stressful Friday afternoon. This is why persuasion and communication isn't just about what you say, it's about how, when, and where you say it. Social judgment theory explains why people react differently to the same message and why pushing harder often makes things worse instead of better. People don't hear new ideas in a neutral way. Every message gets judged against what somebody already believes. Before they consciously think about it, their brain is quietly asking, does this fit with what I already think is true? Every person carries a mental filter, and that filter is built from past experiences, strongly held beliefs, personal values, identity, and emotional memory. And every new message gets compared against that filter. Think of it like this. Every idea you hear falls into one of three zones. The first zone is the latitude of acceptance. These are ideas that already feel familiar or comfortable to you. You hear them and you don't feel tension, you don't feel defensive, you don't feel the need to argue, but rather you hear them and you think, yeah, I agree with that. That fits with how I already see things. That makes sense to me. There's no effort required to accept the idea because it aligns with what you already believe. And when a message lands here, communication feels easy. There's flow, there's agreement, there's very little resistance here. That's why conversations feel smoother with some people than they do with others. That's because you're already operating in the same zone. Here's a simple example almost anyone can relate to. Imagine someone says this: clear communication makes work easier. Most people don't argue with that. You don't stop and analyze it. You don't feel defensive. You don't need proof. You just think, yeah, obviously, that's already how I see it. That idea lands right in your latitude of acceptance. Or think about this. If you've ever worked on a team where things ran smoothly and someone says, trust makes teams work better, that probably also feels true to you. It fits with your experience. There's no internal pushback because the idea doesn't ask you to change anything. It simply confirms what you already believe. That's what the latitude of acceptance feels like. The message doesn't feel new or threatening, it actually feels familiar. And that's why communication feels easy in this zone. The second zone is called the latitude of non commitment. These are ideas you feel unsure about. You're not against them, but you're not fully sold either. You're listening, but cautiously. You might be thinking, maybe I could see that, or I need a little more time. There's curiosity here, but there's also hesitation. And this is important because this is where most persuasion actually happens. Here's a really common example. Imagine somebody at work says, we're thinking about changing how we run our meetings. You don't immediately say yes. You don't immediately say no. You're thinking, okay, well, what does that mean? How is this going to affect me? I'm open, but I need more information. That idea hasn't hit rejection, but it hasn't been accepted yet either. It's sitting in that middle space. That's the latitude of non commitment. And when people are here, how you communicate matters a lot. Pressure will push them away, and curiosity will keep them engaged. The third zone is the latitude of rejection. And as the name suggests, these are ideas that feel threatening or misaligned. You hear them and you feel resistance, sometimes before you even know why. You might feel defensive, you might shut down, or you might immediately start mentally arguing, not because the idea is bad, but because it feels wrong for you. Imagine someone says, we're completely changing how you do your job, starting next week. But before they even finish the sentence, your body reacts. Your shoulders tense, your stomach drops, your brain starts thinking, absolutely not. That's not you being difficult. That's actually your brain protecting you. Your brain is doing its job. The idea landed straight in the latitude of rejection. Now, here's the critical insight: the stronger someone's existing belief, the smaller their latitude of acceptance, which means the further your idea is from what they already believe, the more likely it is to land in rejection. And here's where we often go wrong. When we sense resistance, we push harder, we explain more, we justify, we repeat ourselves, but pushing harder doesn't help. It actually pushes the idea deeper into rejection. Persuasion works best when you start close to where somebody already is, not where you want them to be, not where you think they should be, but where they actually are. That's how conversations stay open, that's how resistance softens, and that's how real change happens. Now let's talk about pushback. Psychological reactance happens when people feel their freedom of choice is being threatened, even subtly or unintentionally. Think back to that group project. The moment one person takes control, others disengage, not because the plan is bad, but because autonomy disappears. Here's where we usually go wrong. When people resist, we explain more, we justify more, we talk longer, we try harder, but explaining more often increases the pressure. And pressure triggers reactance. We've all done it. I've done this myself countless numbers of times where I can hear myself thinking, if I just explain this one more way, they'll totally understand. But the more I talk, the less they listen. That's not because the message is wrong. It's because the experience of the message feels controlling. Reactance is your brain saying, back off. Now, this is the piece that really shifts how you see resistance. People don't hold beliefs randomly. They hold beliefs because those beliefs serve a function. Beliefs help people. They help them feel safe, maintain identity, protect competence, make sense of uncertainty, and regulate emotion. So that means that when you challenge a belief with somebody, you may also be challenging something deeply personal to them. This is why facts alone rarely change minds. If a belief is protecting identity, logic feels like an attack. Think about someone who's been doing their job the same way for 20 years. A new process isn't just new information. It can feel like, I'm being judged, I'm being replaced, I don't belong here anymore. Resistance isn't stubbornness, it's actually protection. And once you understand that, your entire approach changes. So now let's connect the dots. Social judgment theory tells you where somebody is starting. Reactance tells you why pressure makes things worse. And functional attitude theory tells you what beliefs are protecting. When you understand all three, communication stops feeling personal. You stop asking, what's wrong with them? And start asking, what feels unsafe here? Persuasion becomes less about control and more about trust. So let's bring this home and tie this all together. People don't hear messages neutrally. Pressure creates resistance. Beliefs protect something meaningful. Persuasion is gradual, and respect changes everything. The goal isn't immediate agreement, the goal is actually openness. If you felt tension in conversations like this, at work, leadership, home, you're not failing. You're just human. Understanding this won't make communication perfect, but it will make it more effective, less frustrating, more respectful, and far less exhausting. If this topic resonated with you, let me know in the comments below. And if there's a topic on public relations, communication, leadership, presentations, team building, let me know and I'll keep that in mind for my next topic or video. And if this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who wants to communicate at a higher level. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next video.